What?
Egret.
On the chin.
It's a bird.
Oh, I thought it was a bird. The big white bird?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've just seen it right down there.
Looks like,
It's right there.
crane.
Yeah, it's right there. One and only bird.
He's looking for his lunch.
Well, seek and ye shall find. He'll get it. I got the boat. Took a picture of the boat, Cindy. Yeah, I did, yeah.
That's where we'll be getting on, right there.
Right over there?
Folks, we're going to make a brief stop here. This is not a stop for anyone to exit the train. Please remain seated. Make a brief stop here so our train can realign the switch. Direct our train into the Deep River Riverboat siding for our Riverboat passengers. This is a good time to check around your seats. Make sure you've gathered up all your belongings. The next portion of the announcements towards the ladies, because you're the responsible ones, right? Make sure you've gathered up the children and husbands. The last thing you want to do is leave the husband aboard this train all by himself without the proper supervision. At our next stop, please remain seated till the announcement is made. It's time to deboard the train. Thank you in advance for your cooperation.
Thank you. Thanks for the train ride. Thank you.
We're gonna take you back. We're gonna take you
All
back.
right.
Gotta
Good right
take
here.
the train to get back to the car, to
Yeah,
the
they just,
pad.
I'm thanking them right now so you can get on this boat. Give them an early thank you.
It's a long walk.
Let's go fish.
I'll take the bus.
Down with fish.
No bus, good luck with that.
You get lost, you ain't coming back.
Stay here in Essex.
You know, you just take a boat down, it'll take you down.
Just join us jumping. Really jumping. I feel a little breeze.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel a little breeze.
Good luck.
What I say a little.
There's our boat, right there. Right there. Behind you.
All right. That's the love boat.
Yep.
The love boat.
That's the boat we're going on.
The love boat. Remember that show? Love boat? I remember it. Come on every Saturday night.
Big boat. Oh, it's a big boat.
Yeah, the love boat, they call it. Like that show, the
Sit
Love
on
Boat.
top and sit down.
Yeah.
Alright?
Once
Yeah.
again, please remain seated till the announcement is made. It's time to deboard the train.
They got a casino boat too. Yeah, they do have a casino boat out here in Connecticut. I remember seeing it.
Right now, we gotta get home over there with the cooler. With these people that are coming on.
Okay, folks, we now it's the train. This is Riverboat passengers only. Riverboat passengers only. Now it's at the train. As you like to please proceed to the vestibule to the train person in the train. Please do not etiquette open any gates on your own. As you exit the train, mind your footing, use the handrail. Go right up under the blue canopy.
Not leave the water bottle here.
Take your time. Folks waiting on board here for a special treat. You're going to get a right close up view of Engine 30 as she passes by to fit on the other end of our train. When you go by, give a big wave. They're working real hard for us, but make sure you keep all body parts inside the train, as you will experience some close clearances.
Oh, nice train ride. Oh yeah. Yeah, right.
Okay, folks, this was supposed to have 150 people on this trip, but apparently, I don't know what happened, but they decided when they got on the train that they said, oh, I don't want to be with this group here for some reason. I don't know why. There's nothing, I mean, you guys look like nice people, so I don't know why they all bailed out at the last minute. No, that was it. Like Ed said, they heard I was captain. That's right. Try not to broadcast who's captain anymore. All right, well, listen, let me give you the basic stuff here, because we'll get out of here as quick as possible to help get you on the river so you can enjoy your ride. All right, this is, everybody's got to be seated. I hope you can find a seat, right? We got enough seats? All right, down on the first deck, you're on the second deck if you can see me. The first deck has the heads or bathrooms. Woman's head is to the right, men's head is to the left. The snack bar, Andrew, you have something? Andrew's down there in the snack bar. And we got food and drink, in other words, down there. That's on the pointing end of the boat, or the bow beneath me, if you need that. There's a third deck on the vessel. That will be opened after we've departed, because it's standing room only up there. It's nice viewing up there, but we'll let you up there right after we depart. Okay, please stay seated until we depart. When we come back to the dock, we'll get you seated once again. All right, the most important announcement on the boat, as far as safety goes, is where are the life jackets? Always need to know where they are in case of an emergency. Okay, life jackets in the large white box to my left, and in the bench seat behind me, and in the two bench seats at the stern or rear of the vessel. And down on the first deck, you'll find similar type of wooden bench seats with life jackets as well. And up on the third deck, large white boxes with life jackets, all marked adult or child. Okay, I think that's it, Ed. I'm going to move on and let Ed take over here. He was hoping for a larger audience, but it's the quality of the audience, Ed. It's the quality of the audience. I think we have a quality audience here.
We do. We do. Hey, how you doing?
Good, buddy. Push me into that.
You all right? You go right.
didn't get one of those, chicken salad things? You didn't? Roberto, did you get one?
I put mine back in the box.
There's only 3 left. And there were 6. So I'm like kinda curious, who didn't get one?
I just put mine back in the box.
And after all that, Captain Phil is off, Captain Mike is on. That's a relief. We'll be turning here at the dock and heading south. And I want to welcome you aboard the Becky Thatcher. My name is Ed, and I'll be your guide for the first part of the trip. Third deck will be opening shortly as soon as we have a crew member free to come up here. You're in luck. The third deck is certainly the very nicest place to see the river. We have a limit of 40 people on the deck, and we are considerably under 40 for this trip. That's wonderful. Please try to get up there. Always like to ask early in the trip, who came the longest distance to be with us today? Anybody outside New England here? Florida. Anybody got Florida beat for distance? Nobody from Antarctica? Nothing like that? Okay. Florida it is on this trip. Why did you bring this weather up with you?
Okay, I'll join you.
Okay, third deck is open. The dock we just left is called Deep River Landing. The modern facilities that you see here date from the early 1990s. But there's been a landing here and a dock for, going back before historic times. When the European settlers came up the Connecticut River, they found the banks dotted with Native American villages. There was one here at Deep River and a landing right here. Back in colonial times, This is where the mother country would send in boats loaded down with high-priced consumer goods, which they would sell at those inflated prices to the colonists. In return, they did us the favor of relieving us of our natural resources at a bargain basement price. And we did fight a revolution over that. More of that in a moment. In the 1800s, the early part of the 1800s, this was a thriving river commerce, all conducted, by the way, by relatively small sailing vessels with shallow drafts. They may come in from all over the world, but they were not the large ones. Connecticut River is difficult. It's shallow. It has a difficult channel in many places. And there's something at the mouth of it called Long Sand Shoal. It's the reason why there's no major industry or port at the mouth of the Connecticut River, which in every other respect is a major river. And part of the reason why the scenery looks so good all around here. Now, I just finished talking about how these were small vessels coming up the river. Didn't tell you anything about the trade itself. The dominant trade was in ivory. From the Ivory Coast, the west coast of Africa, the boats would come in. They'd stop at Essex. And there's a section in Essex right down to today that's still called Ivoryton. It's about a quarter mile from where you got on board the train. More boats would come up here to Deep River and unload at the landing. And up here there is, well, today you could live at a rather nice apartment or condominium in the old Piano Works, big building up here in Deep River. Mercifully, that trade is long, long gone. Now, on the trip on the way up, they told you as you were approaching Deep River, they pointed out Pratt and Post Coves off to the right side of the train. We're going by Pratt Cove right now, which has its opening hidden inside the marina. Then we're getting down to Post Cove in just a moment. But it's Pratt Cove that I wanted to talk about just a little bit because it's named for a rather notable gentleman of the area named Isaiah Pratt. Back in the Revolution, Isaiah Pratt had a very important role to play. He partnered with a young man who had quite a vision. His name was David Bushnell. He had the design for the Turtle, the first submarine to be built and to be used in war. Now the Turtle looked like an elongated cask, something that you could see.
That's pretty cool.
Now its idea, it did everything that a modern submarine would do actually. It could submerge, it could get itself back up to the surface, it could propel itself on the surface and underwater. It had small porthole windows where it could maneuver when it was mostly underwater. And it carried a weapon system. Now Bushnell had the idea. It was Isaiah Pratt that made it practical. Pratt was an inventor and mechanical maker, machine maker. He designed the crank system and the propeller that drove the Turtle. He designed and built the pumps that would bring water into the submarine and pump it back out again when it was time to go back up to the surface. And he designed the instruments that were used. He even designed the weapon system. It was a very simple one. The idea of the Turtle was that it would navigate out almost underwater. As it got near to an enemy, it would submerge, come up under the enemy, use an auger, a giant drill that operated through the hull. It would drill into the hole, into the bottom of the enemy vessel, and attach a mine, which would be timed to go off about an hour after the Turtle had made its escape. Well, it was quite a design. It was tested here in the Connecticut River.
Ain't too bad.
There are some deeper holes here and there. It was able to get down 20, 30 feet and able to come back up successfully. maneuver, do everything he was supposed to do. In the summer of 1777, they brought it down to the western end of Long Island. At that time,
What's over there?
the British fleet was in control of New York Harbor. And one evening, nice dark evening, the Turtles set out from Long Island. Took a good bead on the British fleet, and the flagship in particular maneuvered its way out, got as far as they thought they could, and submerged. Navigation was very good. They came up right under the flagship. And then everything went wrong. Seems the flagship had a triple copper bottom. The drill was absolutely useless on it. By this time, they didn't have compressed air, so they're running out of breathable air. So what they decided to do was simply to cut loose the explosive mine and hope for the best. Well, that's what they did, and they started heading back for shore. And about an hour later, right in the middle of the fleet, huge blast, huge column of water, killed a bunch of fish, must have soiled a whole bunch of British underwear, did no other damage. I got to give the British credit. They figured out that this rather odd-looking vessel that was headed towards Long Island as fast as it could possibly go had to have had something to do with this unusual occurrence. So they sent out longboats to try to overtake it and capture it. The Americans sent out their own longboats from Long Island, and the Turtle was brought in under the coastal batteries of Long Island so that it was saved. Never made another attempt. You have to wait for our Civil War and the Confederate submarine, the Hundley, in Charleston Harbor, for the first successful use of a submarine in war. I don't know how successful it was. They did sink a Union blockader, but they sank themselves in the effort.
There's an osprey nest up there, you see it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ah.
Well, we've gone out of the old steamboat channel that we started in, and we've crossed the river, and we're entering the modern channel of the Connecticut River. Now, what's over here on our right-hand side,
So there's one of those things for you.
that looks like the east coast of the river, is
I didn't
actually
realize
the newest
people
and
grabbed-
largest island in the Connecticut
Okay, I only
River.
had
We're
one
going to be
for
going by
everybody.
it for a
And I wish they
considerable
would have
length
said
of
something
time.
before they took it.
It's called
Sorry.
Selden Island.
I don't get one.
It's 2.5 miles
sucks.
long,
It's
about a half a mile wide, and it's up to 200 feet high. And it's our newest island because until 1854, it was called Selden Neck. It was a body of land that stretched down from the coast. It was separated, partially separated by Selden Creek. And in 1854, a big storm, something like Sandy or Irene, came through and blasted a hole up at the northern end of the island where Selden Creek came through, and we had our newest island. At the rate that it's all silting in again, I think we'll be back to Selden Neck in a few years. But for right now, it's still Selden Island. It's really beautiful today. 100 years ago, you wouldn't have thought it was quite as pretty. If you look right here where we're passing, you see an awful lot of rubble on the bank of the river.
I lost it once.
Right here, there would have been a massive scar on the island. It was a quarrying
I lost it
operation.
once at the beach already.
They harvested something called red granite schist. Very useful for paving stones, cobblestones, and whatnot. And a good chunk of the island was harvested that way,
Thank you.
barged across to Deep River, and sent by train down to New York and Philadelphia and some other places to the south. Everything okay? It's called Selden Island because the Selden family originally purchased it way back in colonial times before 1700. It stayed in the Selden family, with some variations, but basically the Selden family, until 1930s. The family donated the island to the state of Connecticut with the provision that the state would let it return to nature. They closed up the quarrying operation about 10 years before that, and they sort of saddled the state of Connecticut with the land they didn't want anymore. But the state had taken it over. They've had the wisdom to build no roads or bridges. They've allowed it to return to nature. It's a very beautiful spot right now, and a nature reserve, but with 4 campsites allowed on the island, so minimal carry-in, carry-out camping. Now, one of the features of the island, you can take a path to get there. It's a little bit of a steep climb, but there's a beautiful spring on the island of fresh water. Folks from the area still come out here and take their boats out, load up with that fresh water from Selden Island. But that's nothing different than the old sailing ships did back in those days when they unloaded in Essex, Deep River, or farther up north in Middletown and Hartford. And they were headed back out to sea for another ocean voyage. They'd stop here at Selden Island and reload their water casks.
When we got here, there was a whole bunch of people up here.
I know.
Yeah, well, we scared them away. When we got here, we seen a whole bunch of people up here. Wow.
The last trip was 100 and something.
Oh yeah, a lot of people came off.
This trip was 127.
Only 27 people.
Yeah.
What a big drop.
It probably figured it's getting too hot. Like,
Yeah.
get out and get back before it got too hot. But I don't care. I like this kind of weather.
I call this the love boat.
And I shouldn't let you two guys be out here with those kind of hats.
Mm-hmm.
what?
You gotta have Red Sox hat on.
Oh, I like them too.
Next time I get here, I'll bring a Boston hat.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're all waving at you.
Hey!
you got people over there. Oh shit, yeah, hey, there's people.
Hey!
Hey, my people.
Happy!
And if everybody had Boston hats on, I'd say you gotta have a game.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh, there's people camping there.
Oh yeah, you can camp there.
Is that the island they were talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You get a permit from the.
Oh, they can get, wow.
Yeah, I mean you got to take like a little boat.
Now, the other kind of vessel that used the Connecticut
Oh, you can
River
drive
on
around?
a regular basis
Oh, okay.
were the Great River steamers from 1820s until exactly October 31st, 1931.
So that's
The last of the
the
great
island.
steamers.
Okay.
Made
Woo,
its final
hello.
trip down to New York City. It was
Come
sold
on.
for scrap. Now, it wasn't the railroad that did in the steamboats. Instead, it was a combination of
Yeah, we should be
beginning of the Great
getting.
Depression and the advent of the automobile.
Yeah, we should be getting near the Gillette Castle pretty
need
soon.
for the steamboat travel. But while those steamboats were running, it was a fantastic era.
Yeah, look, I'm in the safest spot
Ask
right
you to
now.
go back in
You know what's in
imagination
here?
with me.
Life jackets.
Around the turn
I'm
of
right by the
the
life jackets. I'm good.
Before 1900, a little after.
I'll probably need 2 or 3, but
If you were in Hartford, our state capital, and wanted to take a trip down to New York City, one of the best ways to go was by steamboat. Well, you'd head out of downtown Hartford down to State Street
that's
Pier,
pretty.
somewhere around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, buy your ticket, and
There we
hop
go.
on board
That's
about
beautiful.
4:30. Now, if you bought a first class ticket, that would cost you about $5.
That's nice.
For just the fare to New York City itself, 50 cents or $1, that was enough for you.
That's nice right there.
Now, if you're going first class, well, you departed the pier from Hartford at about 5 o'clock, and about an hour later, the bell would ring summoning you to the dining room. You'd have a multi-course meal. It'd be served in a mahogany dining room, white linen tablecloths, crystal chandeliers, the whole 9 yards. After dinner, well, they clear away the dishes. Out would come gaming tables on many of the boats. On others, live entertainment. After you had your fill of dinner and entertainment, you retire to your stateroom. And you wake up the next morning, you'll be in the East River in New York City. All for $5. Now, I know that you spent about 3 times that amount to ride on the Becky Thatcher this afternoon. And before you all rush me and demand your money back for the different accommodations that are being offered, keep in mind, 120, 130, 140 years ago, $5 represented a very sizable chunk. It was represented many people's full week's salary or more. So it was a luxurious and expensive way to travel. But oh, what a beautiful way to travel. And those old steamboat captains, they must have been something else. They had to know this awful river that's so difficult to navigate so that they could do it at any tide and any condition year round. The only thing that stopped them was when the ice got too thick. Otherwise, daily trips up and down the river, up and down to New York City. No modern navigation landmarks or markers. There were a couple little scattered places where right by a dock they would give you a channel marker. But all the green and red buoys and markers you're seeing today, those didn't exist in that day. Neither did GPS. They had to know their landmarks night or day, summer or winter. Here's one of the campsites right here on the island.
That house right
As
there
we
is for
come
sale
around
if
this
you're
little
interested in the
point.
summer home.
That one over there?
Yeah.
How much?
This little
20
opening
million?
right here
Was last week, but now it's
is
down to
all that
14.
they sell the
14?
Yeah, the
island.
guy passed away. They dropped it to 14.
Oh, yep.
It wasn't that long ago, you could still get
Yeah, right.
a fairly decent sized boat.
Now
all the way
wait till I
around
win the
island
lottery.
at high
The lottery.
tide. You look at it right now, I'm not going in there.
We're coming towards the Gillette Castle now.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're in Gillette Castle.
We'll be there tomorrow.
I'm asking for a Gillette razor so I can shave.
And not to
Never
brag, but that's
say
what
guys.
Yeah, not the same guy. No.
I wish.
Clap on, clap off, and cheer.
Oh, wow.
That's
Okay,
what
wow.
that guy has.
He's dead now, but
Okay, yeah. I see.
we should all clap and see if the lights go on.
We did that for.
Oh, that's the guy that made the clapper over there?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Clapper and cheer, Pat.
Oh, wow.
He made he made both?
No, he didn't make
Well,
one,
he
but he
bought the
one.
patents.
Oh, about the
Who
patent.
made it?
Some companies made it, but he owned it.
But he owned it.
Yeah, Chia Pet's still around.
Somebody dropped some grass seed in the bowl and it grew, and he said, "Shit, I can sell these."
Oh, boy.
What he said is, if I can make a jingle, he says, I'll sell anything.
Okay.
And that's why you
There's
got
a
the
will,
cheer.
There's a will, there's
Clap
a way.
on, clap off, yep.
There's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Gonna make it.
And you
Just
don't have to.
like
No, I
that
can't
song
do
I
a whole
sang
lot
to my
about the heat.
girlfriend.
It
Just
is what
the
it
two
is
of us.
today.
We can make
And
it
at
if
the
we
moment,
try,
we're
just the two of
traveling
us.
along
Just
with
two
the
of
wind,
us.
so there's
Just
not
the
even a
two of us.
whisper of a
Really
breeze.
careful in the sky, just the two of
But
us.
if you use your
You and
imagination
I.
with me for a moment, I might be able to cool you off, at least
You
in
remember
your
that song, right?
imagination a touch.
Well, it's nice up here.
Instead of going back
Here we
100
go.
or 200 years,
We get
let's
closer
go
to
back
it.
all the way 13,000 years ago.
13,000 years ago.
If you were right here, this exact spot, 13,000 years ago, I absolutely guarantee you that you would be very, very comfortable. Well, no, I can't guarantee you that. I can guarantee you'd be cool. As a matter of fact, you'd be at the bottom of something between a half a mile and a mile of ice. The last glaciers reached their height about 13,000 years ago in this area and began melting.
Mm-hmm.
I got a good news.
About 10,000 years ago,
I'm sure when I get back tomorrow.
the glaciers had mostly melted.
I mean,
The modern
tomorrow.
river had emerged.
Get back over to that flea market.
Long Island off the coast of Connecticut had become an island.
They're going to be in the,
It had
got
been
the
just
castle
the
tomorrow.
pile where the glacier stopped. And we had the modern river. Now, obviously, nobody knows who discovered the Connecticut River. It had to be some tribespeople that were following game as the glaciers gradually went away. So somewhere 10,000 years ago, the river must have been discovered. The one that gets the credit, quite unfairly, is a Dutch navigator and explorer by the name of Adrian Block. Block made 5 trips to the New World. He worked for the Dutch West Indies Company, and the job he had was to map the coasts and rivers of the New World, this new area. His other part of his job was to set up potential trading posts with the Native Americans that he found. Well, he made his last voyage starting in 1613, started down at Virginia, did a little mapping down there at Chesapeake Bay and the Delaware River, looked at potential sites there, came north, did the same thing for the Hudson River, sailed all the way north to modern-day Albany, and that's what he scouted out as being a good place for a trading post. The next year, he sailed into Long Island Sound, mapped the coast of Connecticut, and was the first to come up what we call the Connecticut River and what he called the Versh or the Fresh River. The name Connecticut, well, that's a corruption of an Algonquin word, which was probably pronounced as Quinnatucket. We're not sure of that. What we are sure of is that the name translates as Long Tidal River. The tides are felt a long ways inland on this shallow, shallow river. Well, let's look ahead at our most famous landmark in the area. On the train on the way up, when you got to Deep River, they said, look over there, 1 o'clock, there's Gillette Castle.
There it is.
Well, we'll be going under it for a while now, and I'd like to tell you a lot about it because it's an absolutely fantastic place.
Up there.
Yeah.
It's the brainchild and the retirement home of an actor from the 1800s and early 1900s by the name of William Gillette. He's a local product. He was born in Hartford in 1854, and he was the son of a very prominent family there. Now, they lived in the area called Nook Farm, pretty ritzy area, pretty exclusive. His father was a United States Senator, an abolitionist years after the Civil War. His mother was a descendant of the Reverend Thomas Hooker, one of the Pilgrim founders of the city of Hartford. Their neighbors included Harriet Beecher Stowe, who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Mark Twain or Sam Clemens. And in those days, when a younger son in that type of a family came and said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be an actor, well, that just wasn't done. They mightily discouraged him. Mark Twain, on the other hand, encouraged him. Used his connections, and young Gillette was off and running. He became a very successful Broadway actor. And not only actor, but producer, director, set designer, and playwright. And what you're looking at over top of us right now is the greatest stage set that he ever made. Now, he sunk more than $1 million into it between 1914 and 1923. And it looks like he got very little for his money. It looks like a ruin that's ready to fall down. Well, that's where the stage set comes in. Touring in England and Europe, He'd fallen in love with the romantic ruins of castles he'd seen over there, and he made his modern home look like one of those. It's actually a modern building. It's got a steel skeleton frame holding up all that stonework. It's got hot and cold running water, central heating. First home in the area to be electrified. You'd be absolutely comfortable as a modern person there. The only thing it didn't have originally was Wi-Fi. It's got that now. It belongs to what they call the craftsman style of American architecture. Featuring the native stone, native wood, ornate carvings, ornate hangings. It's got a lot of architectural one-offs in it. It's got a lot of built-in furniture. Like, for instance, his dining room table, which is a massive affair, which ran on wheels on rails and started out in the kitchen where it would be fully loaded and brought out for dinner. And wished away after dinner.
I want it.
Much of the furniture up there is similar in that it's built in. The roof is actually an observation deck with a very shallow pitch to it that collected water that goes down to a cistern underneath the roof for fire suppression, not for drinking water. He was a man of many enthusiasms. One of his greatest enthusiasms was for trains. You came to visit him, you didn't come and knock on the door, he came and got you in his own little train. He gave you a thrill ride back up to the castle. Entertainment was a bit eccentric, but lavish, and it was certainly on the A-list of places to be in the later part of the 1920s and in the early part of the 1930s. He'd given starts to Charlie Chaplin and Helen Hayes. They were frequent guests. The Barrymores, Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, Henry Ford, our sitting president, Calvin Coolidge, all spent time up here. Call your attention to this rock outcrop that we're coming to on our right. Looks a little bit like a Spanish galleon that got lost and rammed itself into the coastline.
That.
Gillette called it ship's stern, and that little stone circle up at the top of it was the foundation for a gazebo. In his day, there was a steel and wooden walkway hanging from this cliff all the way out from the castle to ship's stern, hopped over to the next outcropping, and continued for another couple hundred yards. Imagine, after that giant dinner table was trundled away, Gillette would invite his guests, how about brandy and cigars out at the gazebo?
Ooh.
Walk out along the cliff, get to the gazebo, sunset, river traffic. He knew how to entertain. Now, he was a playwright. The most famous play that he wrote was his adaptation of the Arthur Conan Doyle Sherlock Holmes stories. That was also his greatest role. He played Sherlock in his own play for almost 40 years. And what do you think of when you think of Sherlock Holmes? Picture him in your mind. The dramatic cape, the deerstalker cap, the curved stem pipe, the magnifying glass, all that. And of course the famous phrase, elementary, my dear fellow, elementary, my dear Watson. Well, none of that are in the stories. That's all stage business that Gillette invented to characterize or give personality to the character. But so influential and iconic was his portrayal that everybody, from Basil Rathbone back in the silent movies right on up to Benedict Cumberbatch today, anybody that plays Sherlock plays it the way William Gillette played it. Now, he did pass away in 1937. By that time, he was a widower without heirs. And he left a little bit of a problem for his executors in his will. He left a phrase I do not wish to see my beloved home in the hands of some blithering saphead with no conception of where he is or by what he is surrounded. Well, it was the height of the Depression there in 1937. Multi-million-dollar property, the Depression, and that clause in the will, the executors couldn't do anything with the property. Eventually, they pretty much gave it to the state of Connecticut. The state bought it in 1943 for the grand total of $27,000. The state made it into one of our premier state parks. If you have time in the area, I heartily recommend that you get up there. It's free to go up on the grounds, walk around, peek in his windows. If you want the interior tour, that'll cost you $6. But it's a marvelous place to go.
Tomorrow. Oh, wow. I think
Now, he never called it a castle. His informal name was his head limestone heap for the town that it's in. Its formal name was the Seventh Sister. If you look out over this very low land to our right-hand side, see if you can count the 7 low hills that are the Seven Sisters. They're in front of us and, of course, behind us. And Gillette built his home on the southernmost and highest of the Seven Sisters.
Oh,
And what you're looking at over here on the right-hand side is actually a tidal wetland. It's called Chapman Pond. And it's very similar to Pratt and Post Coves. There are a bunch of little places like this all up and down the estuary of the river. The tides wash in and out every day, and the current washes through. And it forms a natural filtration for the Connecticut River. And today, this river is very clean. The EPA calls it a Class B river. It's safe for all uses other than drinking water. So go ahead, put your boat in, throw your line over the side. Anything you catch is going to be good to eat. Hop in and have a swim. Just don't drink a whole lot of it while you're swimming. If you're really interested in good water, go down to Selden Island and hike up to the crystal clear spring. That is definitely Class A. But the river hasn't always been this clean. In 1968, the New York Times did an editorial in which it called the Connecticut River the world's most scenic sewer. Well, for good reason. Like the Hudson in the backyard of the Times, I don't know what they're talking about. Municipal sewage, towns and cities, that was just a great big pipe heading out into the river. Private septic, all the houses and homes up and down the river, more pipes going in. Industrial runoff, there's not a huge amount of industry, but there is some. Okay, all sorts of very pretty colors and smells going into the river. And how about agriculture? Fertilizer, which is still a problem today with runoff, especially in those days, DDT. Follow the DDT. That pesticide got into the fish, and the fish were dying off. The birds that depended on the fish, eagles and osprey, herons, egrets, well, they tended to lay very fragile eggs that didn't come to term. The birds left the river. It truly was dying and disgusting, Class D. 1969, cover of Time magazine, just about now. Man lands on the moon. Big picture of Neil Armstrong getting down to the moon's surface. Inside, huge article about the moon landing. Next biggest article in that issue of Time.
Uh-oh.
Well, Cuyahoga River on fire. Yeah, the whole river was on fire out there in middle America. Something had to be done. And what was done a few years later was the Clean Waters Act of 1972. That was the federal legislation. And here in Connecticut, the Gateway Commission that cleaned up the river locally. Now, we didn't so much clean it up as just stop polluting it. And the river in the last 50 years has made remarkable comeback. The fish are back. The great shad run of the Connecticut River is being commercially
Yeah, we're turning
harvested
around.
again in the spring. So the shad festivals are all back.
Yeah.
50 varieties of fish in the river. The birds are back. All those big twig nests you've been seeing, those are osprey nests. A lot of them have the birds on them. We have eagles too. They build their nests farther back from the edge. The river is so high since all this flooding that we've had that we're not seeing the wading birds very much on the banks of the river. They're doing their fishing up the streams and little rivers. But the river is back, it's beautiful, and may we never go back to the bad old days again. And since we turned around, I'm going to stop talking at you so you enjoy the river in peace. As we get back down towards our dock, I've got a couple of the little things to tell you about. In the meantime, please enjoy the river. It's a marvelous place to be on a day like today.